Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Stars of Big Sky Country, the series that shines a spotlight on those at the high school, collegiate, or professional level who have made an impact right here in the 406. I'm your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, wishing you a happy new year. It is 2025, and we are kicking this year off right. This first episode back has a phenomenal special guest, and what better way to introduce them than to go over their resume? They are a former Great Falls High Bison. The first time I talked to this individual one-on-one, I said, this is a legend in the making. And now he has spent the last 2 years at Boston College and has been basically a weekly highlight for them, including topping things off with back-to-back appearances on Monday night countdowns. You got mossed. He is the one and only, the legend in the making, Reed Harris. Welcome, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be home for Christmas break and excited to get this going.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like 2 years ago, because you and I have sat down and we've had conversations before, but this question probably would have had a little different answer than this one. So the icebreaker I start off with everybody is, what's it like to be you, Reed Harris?
I think it's pretty fun being me. You get to be in a great school in Boston. It's a great city. I've got amazing teammates. Coming back and living the life in Montana. There's not much that compares to it. So I think being me is pretty fun.
That's awesome, dude. I love to hear it. It's been so fun to watch your early collegiate career from afar. You guys played in the Pinstripe Bowl recently. You guys had a winning season. We'll talk about all of that a little bit later on, but let's go ahead and dial it back to right here in Great Falls. Like I said, you were a former Bison. You were one of the top recruits your senior year. What do you think is it about either Great Falls or Montana as a whole that impacted your life to make you the athlete or person you are today? Like, what made you Montana tough, as me and Irish Firthmeyer has come to call it?
Um, I think it's just the whole ethic that everybody has. Everybody I know, all my friends, they all have that work ethic or that little thing to them that makes them drive a little bit harder, especially on the field. And I caught on to that quick when I first came here my freshman year, and that helped me a lot, especially working out in the weight room or even if it was in the classroom. I think that's definitely helped me a lot, especially through my career.
What's something you've carried with you throughout, your entire, go back as far as you want, but your entire football career to, you see it, be like, yeah, that's definitely something that I bring with me from home to Boston College.
I think it's all the memories I've made because most of the conversations you have are just memories that you're talking about now. So I think all the memories that I made with my friends, those are what I'll keep with me for the rest of my life.
Who was on Great Falls High an irreplaceable teammate? Like, who was the guy on that roster with you, whether it was your graduating class or a year below you or even a year above you, that you just, it's like you can never get that same energy, attitude, or whatever, no matter what level you play at or where you go to play?
I think Rafe Longman was my guy. And
Yeah, you guys were pretty inseparable. Have you been able to keep in touch pretty regularly with Rafe and the rest of the guys?
yeah, I've been in touch with all of them.
Excellent. Who's been out? Anybody been out to see you in Boston College play?
Um, no, nobody's came out yet, but I'm hoping a couple of my friends can come this year. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome, especially, like I said, you guys were in the Pinstripe Bowl, and you've got a former NFL head coach as your head coach, and your coordinator used to be Tom Brady's coach. I mean, let's go ahead and jump into the college world now. Like, what has that been like? You're 2 years in at Boston College. There's been some changes, but you are making the most of it, man.
Yeah, the changes were for the best, and now looking back on the last season, I think the amount of football that I learned compared to my entire career is monumental because the experience that Coach O'Brien brings to the meeting room or the field is second to none, and he can coach any position he wants to. So being able to play for a guy like that is probably one of the best experiences I'll have in football.
What was one of the first things you learned or experienced, I guess, when you got there, where you're like, okay, like we're at the next level now. Like this is not high school anymore.
Yeah, definitely the way he approaches football. I had to just take a step back for a second and realize that this was one of the best coaches that I'll play for. So I really need to lock in and try and see things from his perspective, and then I can start to work forward from there.
Well, Irish, when I interviewed him for one of the episodes, obviously he spent a year in Kansas, and we had a good laugh about some of the differences between Montana and Kansas. And of course, Montana won. He said that's when we came up with Montana Tough, and it is a very real thing, and it was very noticeable to him. So for you, what's the difference between Montana and Boston? Some of the things that stuck out or jumped out early, and some of the things you're still picking up as, little or big differences.
As soon as I stepped off the plane, one of the first things I realized is there's a lot of people there, and things are pretty close together. But I mean, football wise, I think football is football no matter where you're at. There's everybody's competitive, and Montana will always have a little more toughness to them because people are just raised here differently.
Now, I know that a lot of people compare Montana to like Colorado, Wyoming. You have any guys from states similar to where you guys are kind of like, oh yeah, you guys did that there? Like, yeah, that was a Montana thing too.
Um, no, there's a couple guys from California, but once you get to the Midwest part of the country, there aren't as many people. Most of the guys on the team are from the Northeast.
Well, I think that what Boston College has done has been fantastic. Like I said, watching this season was a lot of fun, and every week I'd open up Instagram and it seemed like there was a new Reed Harris highlight and a good one too. And then back-to-back weeks of You Got Mossed Monday Night Countdown. I don't know if there's ever been anybody to do it back to back like that. So the big question for you, just for you, that I have written down here is: at what point did you have to Google how to handle fame?
I'd say it would have been after the first one. That was when I really got my first fame moment was after the first You Got Mossed. And then after the second one, it was a little more accepting. That's when it was a little more accepting. So now when things like that happen, it's kind of a little more normal feeling, and it won't really affect me as much, which is a good thing because I got to focus in as much as I can in the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're only your second year in, and you still have a couple more years ahead of you. But I mean, walk me through that week or that moment, because I don't know how you guys find out if you just tune into Monday Night Countdown and see, did I make it? Or if somebody tells you, hey, you should watch this, or if somebody has to text you, like, did you just watch Monday Night Countdown? Like, what is that whole experience like for somebody that is never going to be on it?
It really wasn't even in the back of my mind, but after the game, I saw the highlights and whatnot, and then I checked my phone and people just started texting me. They said, "Reed, have you seen the TV? Have you seen NFL Countdown?" And I was like, "No, I haven't even turned the TV on." And they're like, "Oh, well, you got mossed." And I was like, "There's no way I did that." And so then a couple days later, I got because Randy Moss he's in contact with Coach O'Brien pretty often. So Coach O'Brien told me that he was going to send me a pair of gloves, and I thought that was really cool. And then I'd say the next Thursday the gloves got in, and then they did a little presentation for me in front of the team. So that was really cool.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And for those wondering, I have a pair of Boston College gloves signed by Reed Harris, a pretty big deal. But the Randy Moss gloves, man, I mean, I don't know, is that like a normal thing, or is it because of his relationship with Coach that he did that? Because like I said, I don't know what that whole thing looks like, if that's something he sends everybody that makes it number one, or if that was a thing he did special for you.
Yeah, he'll send them to everybody who gets the number one spot.
Wow. So you open that box and you're like, these are Randy Moss's gloves. And I mean, it's got to be so surreal. So I imagine there's a conversation between you and coach where he's just like, okay, so like this is one of those moments, the first of probably several moments where it's like you've made it, you've established yourself at this level. So here's what I need from you, here's what I want from you, and here's what you need to do to handle it. Did you guys kind of have to have a sit down like that, or did he just let you, I guess, relish in the moment, knowing, hey, it's his first time, he'll be fine, he'll get back on the field focused and ready to go?
Yeah, we never really had to have one of those sit downs, but I kind of I just took it for what it was. I took it as an award, and then because we were getting towards the end of the season, we still had a couple of games left, so I just had to set it aside for a little bit and then come back to it once the season was over.
This episode of Stars of Big Sky Country is brought to you by Russell Country Federal Credit Union, where they believe in helping you and your children achieve financial success while building a better community. They want to be your financial home, so stop in at their Great Falls or Fairfield office and get started on your new account today. Yeah, I imagine the come down from something like that is going to take a minute, but as long as I've known you, man, you are very humble, you are very modest, and you grind. You grind like nobody else. What has the grind been like with basically year-round football at a school like Boston College?
It's been really challenging, but at the same time, there's a lot of fun in it. And going back now, Monday we're gonna start winter workouts, and that'll probably be one of the hardest stretches that I've experienced in a while because our kudos to our strength staff, but they're pretty gritty. So they're gonna bust our butts for a couple months, but it'll be worth it.
So I saw you last night. You were back home for a couple weeks. Your break got cut short because of the Pinstripe Bowl, which we'll talk about in just a second. But how have things changed, I guess, for you in just the last, I mean, not even 6 months really, but coming home a year ago compared to coming home now, where people, at Great Falls High, you know, hitting you up on your phone like, hey, can you come and meet with our guys or talk to us, or were people lined up to like shake your hand or get selfies with you? Like what's changed or has anything yet?
I mean, I still haven't really created that level of fame yet, and I think people acknowledge it because when I'm in the gym watching my little brother and sister play, I think they'll kind of accept that I'm there and let me watch the game, and then I can talk to who I need to after the game. But I think going forward, if I'm gonna put myself on that level, then next times I come back home, maybe those meet and greet type of things might come into effect.
Okay, I'll make sure I'll keep my eyes peeled for those posts on social. So, I'm like, okay, read meet and greet. Got to write that down so I can be there. But no, man, it's been so cool. Like it really has. I've met my fair share of very talented athletes over the years, covering high school, college ball. Most importantly, arena football. There's some guys that have gone on to have some pretty legit careers at Canadian level or even NFL level. But I think this one is special to me because I can honestly say I knew him when, and it was, yeah, you were a highly, talked about and sought after high school athlete, but still, like, it was, for me, it was just my job, to go and check in with you guys at practice, cover your games, get the highlights, and then it was just a bonus to really get to do a feature on you before you graduated and left. So it's been really fun for me. I'm sure a great time for you and so many other people. How has the communication and relationship between you and Coach Cheetah or even Coach Sampson been? Because you were kind of there during that transitional phase from one era to the next at Great Falls High.
For Coach Sampson, we haven't been in contact in too long, but I know if I saw him, we could just pick up right where we left off. And with Coach Cheetah, I try to talk to him pretty often. He's a really good guy, and whether we're talking about Steel or we're talking about the team or we're talking about Scarlet, then it's a great conversation to have with him, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think those relationships are really important. I know every time I run into Cheetah or talk to him, he's talking about, how well you're doing, when you're coming back and how excited he gets for you to hit the weight room or whatnot. So it's great for you to keep those ties and come back and spend a little time with those guys. But you're in Boston now, and things are gonna look toward next season. What goals do you have for yourself? Because I mean, your second year went pretty damn good, if I'd say so myself.
I haven't made any goals yet. I think I'll probably do that a couple weeks before the season, but my goals for my goals for the spring, our spring ball season are just to get a better connection with our quarterback, get on the same page as all the rest of the receivers, and then me and Lewis Bond are going to try and be one of the best duos in the nation. I think that's where we're going to start with, and then from there we're going to try and build off of that.
Yeah, was watching that kind of dual threat out there, for the games that I caught, it's either the entire thing of or clips of, and I was like, this is really going to be something like next year. Like you watch, this is going to be fantastic. How long does it take you to develop chemistry with the quarterback, as far as making sure that your guys' timing is right and you're on the field at the spot you need to be when the throw is made, and just little mechanical things like that?
It took the whole year for us. So last January is when he got in, and at the time, me and him were on the second team. So over the summer and over spring ball and through winter workouts, we were always working out together. So that helped us build that connection. And then going into the going into the season, we knew that he would be the backup. And then once he did get in, that made it a little easier because I kind of knew where he would be looking. So that definitely helped. And now that we have a full season, now that we have the chance to have a full season together, I think there's a lot of good things that can happen with that.
Okay, so Pinstripe Bowl, you guys had that. It was bowling season, and you guys were there in New York at Yankee Stadium. What is that experience like, playing in a bowl game and playing in New York for that bowl game?
It was a crazy experience, and it was my first time there, and now I can see why they call it the concrete jungle because I saw like 10 trees the entire time I was there. But being able to play in that stadium was insane. It was probably one of the coolest stadiums I've played in. And just getting to experience New York for a whole week was really cool walking around with my buddies, just having a great time. And it was a great experience. So hopefully next year we can either take a step up from that or see what we can do.
Yeah, man, let's see you in that expanded playoff. I mean, I love the new format. I love what we've been seeing from the playoffs. We're down to two now. Do you have a pick for who's gonna win it all?
I see Ohio State with it. I,
Oh, I just heard Mason Kroll cry and Irish cry in the background here somewhere. Because they are, how Notre Dame they are. I didn't even know Irish's family was named after literally Notre Dame. And so I was messaging him yesterday, like, are you guys losing your minds? And he's just like, it's been pretty good run. So I'll keep that a secret between you and I that you picked Ohio State. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. So obviously, you guys have aspirations for next season. That's great. Things on the up and up. I love what we're seeing from Boston College in that program. So we've talked about Boston, Pinstripe Bowl. Now, I wouldn't be doing our viewers or sponsors a service unless I asked you some of the fun ones, which is what was the most Montana thing you ever did in your time here?
um, most Montana thing I ever did in my time here was probably one of the last few times I was home. Me and a couple of my buddies will just throw some backpacks on our backs and go up into the mountains for a couple days and throw some hammocks up in the trees and fish a lake for as many hours as we can. That's probably the most Montana thing.
Wow. That's something that I want to do this summer for sure. And I'm sure you guys have like a secret spot that's yours and yours only. Have you ever come across a grizzly bear? I talked with Colin Runge of the Voyagers and Paddleheads, and he's like, carrying bear mace was a new thing and experience for me. You guys carry bear mace with you when you do that?
Yeah, we do. But I've never had to use it.
Thankfully, right? So now to Boston, only 2 years there, but what would you say is the most Boston thing you've ever done?
Um, I, I think the most Boston thing I've done is probably just catching myself yelling at somebody. Like if I'm about to walk and they just zip right past me and I just yell at them real quick, I think that's probably the most Boston thing.
We had at in Spokane, we had a linebacker, Nick Hague, a phenomenal athlete, and he is full-blooded Boston through and through. And they have their own language. I don't know if you've picked up on this, the way that they say certain letters or certain phrases. Car keys sounds like khakis, and just things like that. Have you had moments where you're talking with somebody, a teammate even, and you're just like, wait, run that by me one more time because I don't think I caught what you were saying.
I've definitely had moments like that.
Um, Clam chowder. Is it really all that it's hyped up to be over there?
I've never had it.
Wow. Okay, so there's something for year three. You need to try New England clam chowder and let us all know back home here if it's really worth the hype. I have been to Boston. I've been to the airport. Been to a game there. Didn't stay long, but I did have lobster tail for dinner, and it was amazing. Like I don't know how they do it, but seafood seems to be next level. I don't know if you're a seafood guy, but have you had your chance to try a fair share at least?
Yeah, they definitely have really good seafood there.
Yeah.
It's
What is one thing that you miss about either Great Falls, Montana, or Great Falls High that you wish you could bring with you over to Boston, whether it's day-to-day stuff or just something that happened once a month, once a year, something kind of like that?
um I think if I could just have a little more freedom, then that would be better. Because here you can just pack up for a weekend and venture off to wherever, but it's a little harder to do that in Boston just because of the geographic location. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm happy where I'm at, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, man. I think Massachusetts and Boston would be a lot of fun. When Nick was here and they'd have a bye week, he'd always hop on a plane and get back home because he said he just needs that fast-paced lifestyle. He needs some of that up tempo. And I don't really know if I ever understood what he meant by that because I've only ever visited, but there's some people that just, I guess, need more up-tempo lifestyle, and that's definitely not Montana. Have you experienced that? Like, could you relate to what he was saying?
Yeah, I can see what he's saying with the fast-paced life, but I'm kind of in this opposite boat as him. I'd like to pack up and come back to the slow-paced life every once in a while.
Yeah, lay up in a hammock for a day and not let anybody bother you. Well, when you and I talked last in this capacity, it was our sit down feature with you and thanking you for the time at Great Falls High and putting together a highlight package for you. But the question I asked you, was why Boston College? And your answer then was you wanted to go somewhere where nobody knew who Reed Harris was because everybody in the 406 did. And that was, for me as a reporter, journalist, guy who covers sports, that was not what I was expecting of an answer because a lot of people, they like that. They kind of relish in that local fame or 15 minutes of fame, but you wanted to go somewhere where nobody knew you and kind of make maybe the same, but at least try to make a new and different name for yourself. 2 years in, has that changed, or do you feel like you have started to accomplish that goal and what you set out to do?
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could just do it again, like make another name for myself like I did here. And freshman year, freshman year, I knew that would be hard to accomplish just because that was my first solid year playing receiver. But now that I've got the second season under my belt, I'm starting to get the name going. There's there's a lot of connections I've built. There's a lot of people I'm starting to know. So the next thing it'll take is just another successful season, and that's what I'm hoping for.
I agree, man. If this was what year two was for you, I can't even imagine what year three would bring. I mean, it'll have its own challenges, I'm sure. It's hard to live up to the unexpected expectations that came with a year like this. I mean, you probably didn't have goals to be featured on Monday Night Countdown, but it happened. And so now, the bar has been raised accordingly. But I think for you, Boston has treated you well. It's been great, but everybody's going to bring up the transfer portal. So I guess the big question for me to you as we get ready to wrap this up here is, are you happy with your choice in Boston? And can the Boston College Eagles fans look forward to another year of Reed Harris?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy there. And even if I would transfer, it's too late now. The portal closed however many weeks ago, but I was never thinking about going in it. So I'm gonna
Never
go.
thinking about it. I love it, man. Like you are one of the real ones, as they say. But this has been fantastic conversation with you. I love being able to sit down. I'm sorry we couldn't do this in person. I really wanted to, but it's just easier this way to make sure all the sponsors are happy and that everything looks and sounds good. But conversation was still great. So to wrap it up, leave us with some Reed Harris wisdom. You can shout out the people at home in Great Falls, or you can say, if there's anything that you've learned or a quote that maybe you've lived by your entire career or since you've got to Boston College.
Um, I would just end it by shouting out my family because they've really been the ones that have helped me the most. My mom, my dad, Scarlett Steele, Allison, my grandma, great aunt, and then definitely my friends. Definitely my friends. I couldn't have done it without my friends. And those are the people you got to rely on the most. That's my wisdom. You got to rely on your friends and your family to help you get through all the hard things, all the easy things, all the fun things. And at the end of the day, you can just look back at it and realize all the things you've done. So that's my little wisdom drop.
I love it, dude. That is Zen. That is beautiful. That is the perfect way to wrap up this first episode of 2025. Great conversation with the one and only Reed Harris. And yes, your extended family from here in Great Falls. We love seeing what we've seen. We love it when you come back home, and we are so excited to see what is next for you. Maybe another spot on You Got Mossed. Maybe something else that we don't even know that could happen yet, because that was very unexpected. But, dude, so fun to watch you. And again, like, thank you so much for keeping in touch and for your time here today. It's been a great conversation on my end for sure.
Yes, sir. It was my pleasure, and it was great talking to you again.
One more time, the guy who was back to back on Monday Night Countdowns. You got mossed as a second year athlete at Boston College. Great Falls High's own Reed Harris. So until next time, you can catch us among the stars of Big Sky Country.